A squirrel loses its grip 40 feet up a tree, tumbles through branches, slams into the ground, and casually scurries away like nothing happened. Scale that same relative fall up to human size, and a person falling from an equivalent height could easily suffer broken bones or worse. Same laws of physics. Same planet. Wildly different outcomes. So here's the real question. Why does falling become so much more dangerous the bigger you are? And why do some animals seem to defy the danger of falling almost entirely? The answer starts with a deceptively simple piece of math called the square-cube law. As an object or animal scales up in size, its volume, and therefore its mass, increases by the cube of its length. But surface area, and the strength of bones and muscles supporting that mass, only increases by the square of its length. In practical terms, a bigger animal gains weight much faster than it gains the structural strength needed to survive an impact. A small animal has proportionally more strength and surface area relative to its body weight than a large animal does. Consider a simple thought experiment. If you scaled an ant up to the size of a horse while keeping its exact proportions, its legs would need to be disproportionately thicker just to support its own dramatically increased weight, since bone strength scales with cross-sectional area, while weight scales with volume. This is also part of why insects can have such thin legs relative to their body size, and why elephants, at the other extreme, have thick column-like legs instead of anything resembling a gazelle's slender ones. This single mathematical relationship, more than anything else, explains why falling becomes dramatically more dangerous the larger an animal gets. This same relationship also controls something called terminal velocity, the maximum speed an object reaches while falling, once air resistance balances out the pull of gravity. Larger animals with relatively less surface area compared to their mass slice through air resistance more easily and reach a much higher terminal velocity before hitting the ground. Smaller animals with proportionally more surface area relative to their weight experience much more relative air resistance and reach a far lower terminal velocity, sometimes barely faster than a gentle toss. Air resistance is a surprisingly gentle force on very small light objects, since even a modest surface area can push back meaningfully against a light body. But the exact same air resistance barely registers against the momentum of something much heavier, which is part of why a feather and a bowling ball fall at such dramatically different observed speeds despite gravity pulling on both equally. Hit the ground at a lower speed, and the force of impact drops dramatically, which is precisely why size alone can be the difference between a fatal fall and a minor inconvenience. Before we continue, if this kind of question is the kind of thing you enjoy thinking about, consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who'd find it interesting too. Now let's keep going. Squirrels are a perfect example of this principle in action. A falling squirrel instinctively spreads its limbs and flattens its body, dramatically increasing its surface area relative to its weight, and its famously bushy tail acts almost like a built-in parachute, further slowing its descent. Combined with a naturally low terminal velocity thanks to its small size, a squirrel can fall from essentially any height in a tree, hit the ground, and walk away completely unharmed. Its flexible skeleton also helps absorb and distribute the force of impact across its whole body, rather than concentrating it on any single point. Studies observing squirrels in the wild have recorded falls from considerable heights, with squirrels landing, shaking themselves off, and continuing about their day within moments, a level of casual recovery that would be utterly impossible for a similarly proportioned fall experienced by a much larger animal. For a squirrel, falling isn't really a life-threatening event at all, it's simply a fast way down. Cats offer an even stranger, well-documented example. Every cat has an innate righting reflex, an inner ear-driven ability to twist its flexible spine mid-air and land feet first, even when dropped from an awkward position. But veterinarians studying real emergency room data uncovered something even more surprising, sometimes called high-rise syndrome. Cats that fell from higher floors, in some studies above roughly 7 stories, often showed less severe injuries on average than cats that fell from lower heights. The likely explanation is remarkable. Once a falling cat reaches terminal velocity, it seems to relax, spreading its body out flat like a small parachute, similar to what a flying squirrel does deliberately, distributing the impact force across its entire body instead of absorbing it all through its legs. Below that critical height, the cat simply hasn't had enough time yet to reach terminal velocity and relax into that spread position. This finding was significant enough that veterinary researchers have specifically studied it across hundreds of real feline fall cases in urban environments, and while the exact statistics vary somewhat between studies, the overall pattern, better outcomes at greater heights up to a point, has been observed repeatedly enough to be taken seriously within veterinary medicine rather than dismissed as a coincidence or a myth. Humans, unfortunately, are simply too large for the square cube law to offer the same protection. Our surface area to mass ratio is far lower than a squirrel's or a cat's, meaning air resistance barely slows us down at all before we reach a dangerously high terminal velocity, well over 100 miles per hour during a long fall. We also lack any natural built-in equivalent to a parachute tail or a flexible riding spine, and our joints and bones are proportionally less capable of absorbing sudden, concentrated impact force. Modern safety engineering essentially exists to compensate for exactly this evolutionary gap. Parachutes, airbags, and crumple zones are all, in a sense, artificial attempts to give the human body the kind of surface area increase or force distribution advantage that smaller animals simply carry with them naturally, built into their basic anatomy. In short, we're simply built at the wrong scale and without the right adaptations for falling to be survivable in the same effortless way it is for smaller animals. Push the size comparison to its logical extreme and the pattern becomes almost absurd. An ant, dropped from any height, even the top of a tall building, will reach a terminal velocity so low and experience so little relative impact force that it simply survives, seemingly indifferent to the fall entirely. This observation is famous enough in biology to have its own classic reference from a widely cited essay by biologist J.B.S. Haldane, who noted that a mouse can survive a fall that would kill a human, and a rat one that would kill a horse, purely because of how size changes the physics of falling. This same principle explains why small insects can walk on water, why tiny spiders can be blown considerable distances by the wind without harm, and why the physical experience of the exact same environment, wind, gravity, impact, can be almost unrecognizably different depending purely on how large or small the creature experiencing it happens to be. The bigger you are, the more falling becomes something to genuinely fear. So why can animals survive falls that would kill a human? Not because they're braver or tougher in some abstract sense, but because the physics of falling simply isn't the same at every size. A squirrel's bushy tail, a cat's relaxed mid-air stretch, an ant's near-total indifference to gravity, these aren't separate tricks. They're all the same underlying mathematical rule, playing out differently depending on how big the animal happens to be. Humans at our size never got that deal. Gravity plays fair. It's simply scale that decides how much that fairness actually costs. Not to give you answers, to reveal the paradox. Every question has a story. Welcome to Human Mystery.